with liberty and justice for all. Let us please remain standing and remember our military forces serving around the world. And also let us think about Senator John McCain and his passing and his service to this country and his ability to bring bipartisanship and togetherness to the government. Thank you. Amy, you gonna sit here? Okay, next upcoming meeting, Rockland County Shared Services Initiative public hearing will be held tomorrow at 7 p.m. here, Wednesday, September 5th in the Village Hall. The Village Board workshop meeting will be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 25th, 2018. And the next Village Board meeting will be Monday, October 1st, 2018. At this time, I'd like to open up the continuation of the public hearing to propose amending Chapter 254-68, Schedule 8, to modify the locations of loading zone and handicap parking locations and 15-minute parking locations in the Central Business District. Mr. Magrino.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Village Board. As you indicated, this was a continuation. The proposed local law sets out several streets where we made changes in terms of 15-minute parking spots, handicap parking spaces, and loading zones. I could go through each one individually. I think that you have them in front of you. I don't know that that's necessary, but it was based on a review, again, I was with Ms. Paffenroth and with a representative from the Parking Authority. So this is something, again, that has been reviewed and that they expressed a desire to kind of make these changes and move some spots around. But I don't believe we're creating any new spots. I think it just swaps some out for others. So.
Yes.
Okay, is there anyone from the public here that would like to speak in regards to modifying the locations as loading zones, handicap parking, and 15-minute parking locations in the Village of Suffern? Okay, at this time I have a resolution adopting Okay.
We have to close it. We have to close it.
Oh, okay. Have a motion to formally open up the public hearing. Have a motion?
Motion to open up the public hearing.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Sorry about that.
Sorry, I thought you had voted.
Okay, so the reason, there are several reasons behind this. The first reason, or the main reason, is that the merchants on Lafayette Avenue, there was incidents with the blocking of their businesses due to loading and unloading of trucks. So we're just making the loading zones a little more accessible and not impeding on the village businesses and adding to the handicap parking. So at this time, have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Type 2 action.
Yeah, the board had already indicated it was a type 2 action, no further secret review at the previous meeting, and I was going to add that to the proposed resolution, just that
Codifying that.
right, the board had declared itself lead agency, and it's a type 2 action requiring no further review.
Okay, so I have the resolution in front of me, adopting local law 10 of 2018, amending chapter 254 of the Code of the Village of Suffern, Vehicle and Traffic, Article 8, Schedules. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Did it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the I have a resolution authorizing a public hearing on Monday, October 1st, 2018, 7:05 p.m. to consider a local law to define permitted uses of pods and/or dumpsters. I have a motion.
Motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes. So that'll be October 1st at 7:05.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 57 Hillside and the code initiative.
Okay, the reason behind the pods and dumpsters is that we've been having certain issues in certain streets or areas of the Village of Suffern with the extended length of time dumpsters are, is this working? Dumpsters are remaining in front and rear yards, and also we don't want the pods to become the same type of problem that we've been having. I have to take my coat off, man.
You know, it's so hot. Oh my God.
All right, Dan.
Okay. Next, you have before you a resolution which is subject to mandatory referendum. This means that in order for it to be effective, it has to be approved by the voters in the Village of Suffern at the general election in November of this year, November 6, 2018. It relates to our extending our existing, what we call LOSAP, or the Suffern Fire Department Service Award Program, to increase the service credit. Right now, people max out at 25 years. If the referendum is successful, that would go to 30 years. This would allow us to keep more firefighters working for the village, and it would give incentive for people to stay with the program. Right now, after the 25th year, there really is no financial incentive for people to stay with it. It has been analyzed from a fiscal impact standpoint, and I don't know if final numbers have been developed. I'll leave that to Mr. Janito, but it's certainly pretty close if it isn't exactly final numbers. And there is a provision here that it would be effective January 1st, 2019, if, once again, it prevails in the referendum. But if someone has is in their 25th year, there's a gap period of time possible. So this would also cover the gap period in time, so that that individual or individuals would be able to continue to receive the credit. And that's built into the resolution. New York State law authorizes this, but does make it subject to a mandatory referendum, meaning, once again, a vote of the electorate for the municipality that's affected. If anyone has any questions, be happy to answer it, other than the fiscal.
Did you want to highlight the change you made today, Dan?
For 50 points.
You worded it a little differently today. Did you highlight that piece of it, the change in the age retroactive?
I mentioned the
So, yeah, but if it's, and the amendment shall include those participants who earned 50 points and would have been otherwise been denied credit under the existing 25-year credit maximum. So you will be, if you achieve the 50 points. It's 50 points, correct? Right. And then on the cost, Mike, did we have a final on the cost, the increase on the LOSAP program?
From,
They're estimating it at $140,000.
Right.
The increase is from the current amount, approximately $14,000.
Right.
And the first impact would affect our 2020 budget, or 2019-2020 budget.
Okay.
so, just to be clear, it's an increase of 14,000 total, but it doesn't become effective until the 2020 budget. Am I saying that?
Right.
Fiscal year beginning June 1, 2019, and May 31, 2020.
Okay.
Perfect. So in front of you, you have a resolution amending the Suffern Fire Department Service Award Program by increasing the service credit maximum from 25 years to 30 years, subject to mandatory referendum and approval of the voters at the general election to be held on November 6th, 2018. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Have any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion passes.
Let's see, looking for the resolution. Okay. HUD, Housing and Urban Development, a federal agency which regulates things such as community development block grants and certain housing programs, has amended certain aspects of its program. We annually enter into an agreement, or actually I think it's every 2 years, we enter into an agreement with the County of Rockland. County of Rockland has forwarded us what they are characterizing as the First Amendment to the agreement with the County of Rockland on behalf of the Office of Community Development and the HUD Community Development Block Grant for program years 2018 and through 2020. I've read through the amendment. It is rather minor in detail, and I find that it certainly is something that if the board doesn't do, we will no longer be eligible for community block grant. So I think that says it better than me explaining the details and legalese of the amendment.
Okay, so I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the First Amendment to the agreement between the County of Rockland on behalf of the Office of Community Development and the Village of Suffern, HUD Community Development Block Grant for program years 2018 to 2020. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
Okay, next one is an update from the last regular village board meeting, and that is to set a public hearing for Monday, October 1st, 2018 at 7:10 p.m. to consider establishing school zone signage on Suffern Place at Ikra Darul Asan, which I believe to be a school. I'll be having further conversations with the building department and with Rob Noble in terms of the details of that. But at this point, setting a public hearing should not be an issue
Okay.
for school zone signage.
All right, thank you. Next up, the fire department. Chief,
Do you want to set the public hearing?
I think it's set.
It's already, that was an
It's already
update,
set.
so
Oh, okay.
yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The fire department's going to be pretty busy this month. There's a lot going on. Saturday, we'll be at the Rockland County Parade in Piermont. We have mutual aid from Greenwood Lake coming to stand by the hose company. We have the 9/11 ceremony. We'll be at the bonfire for the Midget Mounties, and we'll be at Suffern Day. So we'll be doing a lot of social stuff this
Great.
time. So we have the requesting the resolution that the guys want to take a truck down to the Hoboken for the 9/11 memorial. It's pretty much just a photo op. They drive down there, take a picture where they have the lights for the Twin Towers up that night, and then they just come back.
Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing a hose company fire truck to participate in the September 11th Memorial Parade to be held in Hoboken, New Jersey on September 11th, 2018. I have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we have 2 new members joining the hose company. We have Nancy Morales, she's over age 18, and Dylan Salmon, he'll be under a junior member.
Okay, do you have a motion to accept Nancy Morales, over 18 member of the hose company? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, I have a motion to accept new member Dylan Salmon, under 18 member of the hose company.
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Culture and Recreation.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening.
Good evening.
Village Board, can you hear me? Yes? So a few things that we have coming up. This Saturday, September 8th, we're working with the Lions Club on the dog show at Yorkshire Park. It will be from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So there's registration beginning at 11. If you have a dog, a puppy that you'd like to bring to the park, they have some nice prizes, some nice events. It's a cute event. So starts at 11 over at Yorkshire Park. As Mike had just mentioned, the 9/11 candlelight ceremony is on Tuesday, September 11th, and it's at the Donna Hallett Park. It's at 7 p.m. It will be a candlelight ceremony, like I said. It's always a very nice community event. On Thursday, September 13th, we have the rec board meeting. Everyone is invited to that if you'd like to attend. It's upstairs in the community room, starting at 7 p.m. I'm sorry, we moved it. It's in the recreation office, but the same date and time. Primary elections is Thursday, September 13th. So because of the elections going on at Leo Leiden Community Center, we have no programs on that day. September 15th, the date has switched a few times for this, but it is definitely Saturday, September 15th, and it's the Midget Mountie Barbecue and Bonfire down at the ball fields. Suffern, Sunday, September 16th is the Suffern Street Fair from 10 to 5. That should be a great event. Suffern Day, we are very looking forward to Suffern Day. It's on Saturday, September 22nd, and it will be at the ball fields. The daytime activities from 11 to 3, and then the evening entertainment with Country Fresh the Band and firework it's starting at 6:30. I know, Gina, we talked about a few events that we're looking to incorporate, and then Moira, I'm trying to, we'll hopefully connect if you've heard any information.
They haven't responded to me
Have
yet.
not, okay, so hopefully that will come through. That will be, Moira worked on the pony rides last year, and if we can get that coming back again, that might be a nice addition. Gina?
The tennis pro, I mean, they definitely want to do it.
Excellent,
And bring down the whole varsity team, so
very good.
we just have to get together.
Yep, that'd be great, that'd be a great addition, so we appreciate
Do you
it.
have their contact information, Kathy?
No, Gina and I started talking about it the other
Okay.
day, but we didn't get to the next step, so we'll do that.
Okay.
The Broadway show, Pretty Woman, went on sale this morning, and it sold out this morning. We had tickets galore. It was unbelievably fast, how fast the tickets went this morning. So 56 tickets. We're going down to Broadway to see Pretty Woman on Saturday, November 3rd, and the tickets are sold out.
They were sold out.
Those say again?
They're all sold out?
They were all sold out. Saturday, November 3rd. Yeah, so that'll be a nice trip. Update for summer activities. I just wanted to mention some of the things that we did in recreation over the summer. As you know, we had the Suffern Pool. It closed yesterday for the season. This season, we had over 900 people sign up for the pool, so it was up from last year. Swim lessons, the evening program was sold out immediately the night of swim lessons. People adore that program, so we got to try to figure out how to let more people in with having more guards or however we would do it, but swim lessons for us in the evenings is a huge, huge benefit for the residents. We had 26 guards this summer, and we had 2 maintenance over at the pool, so we took on a lot this summer. But again, it was a very good season, closed last night at 6 o'clock, and no incidents this summer, so that's always nice to finish off the summer.
Great job.
Yep, thank you. Clifford Theater, we had 3 staff members brought on board for the summer, the musical director, the director, and then the assistant director. We had over 36 students from the Suffern Middle School and Suffern High School. We had over 5 stage crew that were helping with the cast, and over 8 musicians, which were all volunteers. So we brought hundreds of people into the village, into the auditorium that weekend. Beautiful show. It was an incredible feat what the kids had done, so we're really proud of Clifford Theater over the summer. Concerts, we had 4 concerts this summer, including 1 children's concert, and they were all very well attended. The children's concert, Kirk Gallagher, is always a big hit. A lot of happy families coming into the village for that. We had Salvation Army. We hosted them at the gazebo. It was a teen concert, and they had a blast. They were very happy that you were able to host them this summer, so they were always happy to come down. But it was a great summer overall. We enjoyed it. Thank you for all your support with all of our programs. Elaine and Nancy and Andrea, we couldn't do it without each other, so we also couldn't do it without the police department and without DPW, the amazing support that they give us for the concerts to get everything ready, for the pool, for the water department, so it's a great team effort, so I thank all of them for doing that. And then discussion. So for Suffern Day, we have that coming up. Mayor, I think it's on your agenda. I'll mention it and you can come back to it. I don't know how you want to do that. But we have a DJ that we'll be hiring for Suffern Day. We have Country Fresh, the band. And then we have the fireworks, and I believe there's a contract for you to sign for the fireworks. The fireworks is the same company that we've had many, many years now. They've done a great job. We're very comfortable with them. Country Fresh, most of us know Mike Blau from Anchor Fence. He's going to be our band, and Caesar will be our DJ, and it's just going to be a great event, so we're looking forward to it. So I don't know if you want me to do anything with the resolution, or should I
Let me just see what the
wait?
resolution is.
I believe it's a resolution.
Right after the...
Yeah. All right, well, we're on it. We'll have it here. Resolution authorizing Legion Fireworks Company, Inc. to purchase and display fireworks for Suffern Day to be held September 22nd, 2018. I have a motion.
Motion.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
And that is it for me. Thank you very much.
Now, last year, just let me ask you a question about last year in the band. Who was supposed to play, who played at Suffern Day last year?
South Street Station.
South
Played
Street
last year.
Station.
Yeah, and they were actually in addition to our summer concerts this year.
Right.
Because we got a lot of great feedback for them for Suffern Day.
Right.
So for bands, we usually bring 4 bands in, including the one child. One of the bands usually flips, and South Street Station was one of the ones that we brought in and didn't bring another group out last year. So South Street Station did it last year. They were really good. Yeah, there was Country Fresh couldn't do it.
Right.
He's played here a lot of years, but just a timing.
But they're coming back for sure.
They're coming back for sure.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. And thank you for the summer activities. You really
Thank
did a
you.
great job, you and the
Yeah,
rec
it's-
staff.
It was a great
Thank you.
event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine. Mr. Rella, the grant writer. Here's your copy. You want this copy back?
Good evening.
Good evening.
We were notified this past month that we were awarded money for the, through a grant, the CDBG, for the repaving of parking lot B, which is the parking lot across from the post office. That's a $175,000 project, so we put in for that amount of money. But it turned out that HUD this year only awarded Rockland County 40% of the funds that we have received in previous years. And the reason is that the town of Ramapo and the town of Orangetown have dropped out of the consortium, and that was what Daniel was referencing, I guess, earlier. That resolution was to make Suffern a member of the consortium. And the amount of money you get is based upon the populations that are members of this consortium. So with the town of Rampo dropping out and the town of Orangetown, it reduced the numbers greatly. But the good news was we did receive we were awarded $70,250, which gives us about a $100,000 shortfall. I've applied to the New York Department of Transportation for the balance of that money that is due, and we should know probably within the next 30 days whether or not we'll be awarded those funds. If we do not get awarded those funds, what municipalities are doing, since they only got like half or a little less than half of the amount when they were awarded funds, is that they're putting in the CDBG same project next year, okay? And then they'll have the sufficient amount of money. But I think I'll be able to get the money through another route.
Okay, great.
Counting on you.
Yeah. The New York EFC, Environmental Facility Corps, they have a grant program right now, which in the grant applications are due this Friday. And right now within the DPW, we have 4 projects which are eligible for this grant application. And each one has to go on a separate application. And the total amount of the project cost is $11 million, all right? But this grant can help offset the cost of this by 25%, or about $2.5 million. So it's a really nice grant, and I want to thank Mike Janito and Charles, and also Danielle Curtin, who we don't see at these meetings, but she's in the DPW and is a tremendous help as well. And Amy too. We had to pull a resolution together at the last minute today, and Mike was instrumental in Amy in helping to do that, and that's before you right now. So for submission of that grant, it says that Mike can supply the financial information for the grant and also be the signatory on it, and also that if there's any engineering requests or questions about the product going in or the site location, things along that nature, that Charles can answer those questions.
Okay.
So,
All right, so I have the resolution authorizing submission of grant applications available through the Environmental Facilities Corporation under the New York Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
great. The Wayne Avenue Sidewalk Project. You've heard me speak about that, the Wayne Avenue Sidewalk Project.
Right.
You've heard me speak about that many times. That's a $330,000 sidewalk and curb project along Wayne Avenue on the north side from Orange Avenue up to the thruway, okay? And there are some sidewalks, and then there's areas where there's no sidewalks. So it's a really big project. We were awarded 2 DBG grants in the amount of $300,000. We're going to supply 10% remaining, which brings it to $330,000. One thing which the Department of Community Development and HUD has made us go through this year, along with other members of the county, is an environmental study. And that was conducted by the county. That was just completed, and there was a comment period that was held by the county that ended on August 31st. And so the funds are actually being requested from HUD. They were to be requested today. All right?
It's to be what?
The funds were to be requested to HUD directly today, since the environmental study was successful and completed.
Great.
However, due to the timing and nature of this project, we're not going to be doing it to the spring of 2019. Okay.
Okay.
One final thing.
Go ahead.
The digester boiler project, we received a grant award of $250,000 for that project. That's through DASNY, okay? And as Dan can attest, and as many of you on the board are well aware, working with DASNY, there's a voluminous amount of documentation that goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We're at the very final point where the grant disbursement agreement was fully executed now, fully executed by the village and the appropriate parties up in New York. So all we have to do now is just supply them with the invoicing and copies of checks, and they said that they'll give us the award within the next 30 to 45 days.
No, that's great.
I would say 60 days.
Right.
But the good thing is that project's already done, so we can get the information to them as soon as possible and have the money this year.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for all your work, Fred.
Yeah.
Wow. Police Department, Chief Osborne.
Just a few items to vote on. I have some other informational items for you. Firstly, we would like to accept the resignation part-time police officer Mike Corletta, effective August 10th. Mike just got a full-time job with the Attorney General's office. It was, he said for a short period, but it's good for him. It's a good full-time position. He was already trained, doing a great job with us. Sad to see him go, but we're just asking the board for his resignation due to that position.
Okay, I have the resolution accepting the resignation of Michael Corletta as police officer part-time, effective August 10th, 2018, non-pro-tunc. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Board. Secondly, the other two officers hired at the same time, the part-time officers, I'd like to formally appoint Officer Laura Gannon as a part-time police officer, effective August 6th, 2018.
Okay, I have a resolution appointing Laura Gannon as police officer part-time. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Suffern appoints Laura Gannon from list number 16097, dated April 19, 2018, to the position of police officer part-time at a pay rate of $24.37 per hour, effective August 6, 2018, nunc-pro-tunc. I have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Board. And last thing to vote on, similar resolution appointing Officer Tara Cable as a police officer part-time effective August 6th, 2018. They've already been working. This is the formal acceptance of the
Yes. So I have the resolution appointing Tara Cable as police officer part-time. Be resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Suffern appoints Tara Cable from list number 16097, dated April 19, 2018, to the position of police officer part-time at a pay rate of $24.37, effective August 6, 2018, nunc-pro-tunc. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Board. And just some informational items. We have had a lot going on over the summer. Definitely have a lot going on in the fall. We had 542 police calls and blotters for the month of August. We had 26 arrests and vehicle and traffic summonses are up from this time last year. Schools obviously open tomorrow. We will once again continue our building checks, which means officers every single day walk to the schools at different times, unannounced, just to walk to the school. It's been a program for the last 2 years we set up, and it's been excellent. We get to know, the officers get to know the school and get to know the kids much better by doing that. We'll be starting that tomorrow again.
Great.
So,
Perfect.
which is excellent. It's a great thing for the community, for all of us. Our Dale hockey rink, I want to thank Fred for getting us a grant there from Assemblywoman Jaffe, who's always giving us money for hockey. Our rink was being worked on today thanks to Charles and Rich Joe Hunt. His guys were up there today in the heat, sweltering heat, helping me fill all the cracks on the rink so we can get it painted by H&H Painting, who's helping us out to do this starting this week. And we have to resurface it every 3 to 5 years. We've been stretching it to 5, and there's a lot of work, but by next week we open up, the rink should be in great shape. It's just a lot of prep, and I just want to thank Fred, Charles, and Joe, their crews, for stepping up on this big time. I do appreciate it very much. In regards to hockey, we have 12 teams. I have 24 community volunteer coaches. I got my 24th head coach, the 12th head coach today, local village resident. Thank God he stepped up. One dropped out, so we'll be starting next week. I'll keep you informed of that. End of this month, we'll be meeting with, I've already met with the executives at Avon. We'll be conducting safety drills, possibly an active shooter drill, and we'll be briefing the executives and the command staff of Avon this month about how to proceed in the event of a catastrophic or critical incident. We'll be stepping up. We have a team preparing something to go in to talk to them. We've already been working this for about 2 months. That'll be in end of September, which I think is always a good thing to do. We've already done this with Good Sam, and we do it with the schools repeatedly. We had our canine training. Over 50 dogs came. We did arson investigation to detect arson incidents with the canines. We did bomb detection, explosive detonation. We also did narcotics work and apprehension work. And Mayor, I know you came up, and Frank, I think Frank, you were there to share too, right? You came up when we had about 50 dogs, and I want to thank, once again, DPW for giving us some old cars to put the dogs into to search for narcotics, and Lieutenant Mallow to work the glow with me. So That went fantastic, great turnout. School supply drive, we collected an overwhelming amount of supplies for our local students. We delivered a truckload to our Pecan school last week. I actually was off last week, came back, there's another box, so I'll be getting those up to the schools tomorrow when school starts. We will be doing car seat installations. We haven't done them in several years. I decided it was time. We have Sergeant Gina who will be handling those, and what that means is if anybody who has an infant or you have a grandchild and you need a car seat put in, you come to us, set up an appointment for village residents, we will put them in. Because it sounds like an easy thing, but seeing what they do and learning a little bit, it's a 4-day course, legitimate, to put them in correctly. So we'll be offering that service to our residents, really pretty much from right now. We have an active fall coming up, and we look forward to many community events they'll be involved in. And I appreciate it, and I'll be here for the duration.
I'd like to say thank you, and just to speak a little bit about the canine event and the 50 dogs, which was pretty impressive. I want to thank you, and I really want to thank Lou Venturini.
Yes.
I mean, pulling that off and getting all those different departments up there was unbelievable.
It really was, man.
It was, you know, and the school supplies, another thing that we just keep going on with all kinds of different events that you guys are doing such a great job. The school supplies, the canine, the schools, the Avon training, everything. We appreciate it, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Every day we're just trying to move forward with just one story about the canine event I thought was excellent. One of our local students who lived up in the Knolls for years, his family still lives in the village, he always told us as a kid, if I was in school and I was a staff officer, I want to be a canine guy. I want to be a canine officer forever. And this was when he was probably 9, 10 years old. While we were there, he came up in an NYPD ESU canine truck. He's now a canine officer for NYPD, which I thought was awesome. And he came up to us.
That's funny.
And he couldn't have been prouder to show up here to his hometown, his home village, as a canine officer. So.
Yeah.
But that's why these programs that we're in the schools every day do work, and they do make a difference.
Very good. Great job. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up the audience participation portion of the meeting. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak? Carol, I thought you were running up to the mic. Come on up and state your name and address, please.
Oh, I thought she was too.
My name is Stephen Alpert. I live at 17 Meadowbrook Lane in Suffern. I'm actually just looking for some notes that I had.
What was that, Steve? I'm sorry, 17?
17 Meadowbrook Lane here in
Meadowbrook
Suffern.
Lane.
Oh, Meadowbrook.
Okay, so I had a couple of questions. One of them, actually, I noticed just coming tonight is that there's a lot of deficiencies in this very building. I mean, there's some right there by that window, some right there by this window, and outside the building, it looks like part of the facade has fallen off or something. And I was just curious if anyone is attending to these deficiencies in this building before it becomes a bigger problem.
Yes, some of them have been being looked at over the course of the last couple of months and years, yes.
Okay, and of course with the sound system too, it's, you know, always cutting out and stuff.
We were just awarded some $40,000 in grant funds to have this actually replaced,
Oh,
so
great.
we'll be working on that, yep.
Because that was a problem just today. My next question is there anything that's being done to help slow down the apparent increase in vacant commercial buildings like on Lafayette Avenue? Like, is there any, it just seems there's a lot of stores that are empty, and it's the problem, they stay empty for a very long time, and I just wanted the board's thoughts. There's bank buildings that are empty, it's just, it's
trying to attract businesses into the village is one thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to develop an economic development plan. We're trying to attract people into the village. It's a challenging part to do. It's hard to do, but working closely with other types of agencies such as the Department of Tourism, the Rockland County Code Initiative, keeping everything up to date, that's the initiative. That's the type of development we're seeking.
Okay, because it does seem it's like becoming a ghost town in some regards, especially with the empty banks. I mean, there's 4 bank buildings, 3 of them are empty. The next question I had is, back in April 13th, I believe it was, the New York State Comptroller issued some findings after auditing Suffern's finances, and I was curious if the village is doing anything to remedy the items that the Comptroller named in their audit or their public description of the problems.
If you want to be specific to some questions, write down some questions and we'll get back to you on those. Have the treasurer look at that more closely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else from the public?
Good evening, Board. It's Paul Gerard, 2 Cross Street. I just have a few topics I want to cover. I know you're going to cover later on in the agenda about the IRS ruling on the charitable deductions on local municipalities. Since I won't get a chance to speak at that time, I just want to, I certainly express my disappointment with this ruling, but I am happy to report that New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Maryland are all suing the federal government over this ruling. And because it is unconstitutional, it's double taxation and, really just what I view as retaliation for not delivering electoral votes to the current president. So I'll certainly be pushing from my standpoint as a resident and hopefully future board member on this point. I would like to ask the board for an update on the outstanding labor contracts with both the police and the DPW. Are there any details you can share in terms of maybe what are the points of contentions? Have we met recently? Anything you can share?
No, other than dates being set for meetings.
Okay, so there are dates set for meetings, but no meetings have taken place recently?
In the CSEA, there's meetings have been taking place in the past. No new negotiations have opened. And then with the police department, negotiations are scheduled.
Okay, so no meetings to date, or?
As I said, the CSEA, there have been meetings.
With the board?
With the board?
Well, in negotiations, I'm talking about.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Meetings negotiating an agreement.
Yes. As I said, the CSEA has had meetings.
Okay. How recent? Approximately.
The last meeting, I don't recall, but the CSEA canceled the last meeting.
Do you remember when that was scheduled for?
No.
Approximately? Time frame? In the last 6 months, 3 months?
Oh, yeah. Maybe July, June or July. I don't know exactly.
Okay. You can't share any details on?
No.
Why the parties are apart?
They're in negotiations. This isn't working.
Okay. All right.
Paul, did you see, there's a copy of the IRS?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Try the mic. Try your mic.
There's a copy right in front of you of the bulletin from O'Connor Davies.
Yes.
Okay, that's the first topic. That's on the IRS ruling.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
Okay.
you had a copy.
Okay. I was at a meeting last week with the Zoning Board of Appeals. It was about a topic I brought up last time about the 60-unit building that's proposed at the corner of Washington and Pleasant Avenue. That was rescheduled, and the zoning board did pass the variances, so I guess it's going to advance along. I know when the Sheldon is going up now, and we're getting minimal tax benefit on that. I believe it's $50,000 a year for the next 35 years, something like that, something very minimal. I know that was something you had opposed, Mr. Mayor, as a trustee, but I know you eventually agreed with it as mayor. I'm just, and I realize that there are issues with the property and brownfield and things like that. I just want to make sure on this other property, any deals, any negotiations being made on tax agreements on this property?
No.
Okay, I just want to, you know, obviously, you know, we've got an issue in this village. We can actually reduce taxes on every resident if we have more residents, right? It's a simple math problem. And right now, the threat to us is a lot of residents want to leave because it's too expensive. So I just wanted to ask that question and make sure that we're looking at this as an opportunity to expand the number of residents in the village and ultimately increase the tax base, because that's where I see a big risk here. A lot of people I know, been here a long time, say, I can't afford to be here anymore. So we're looking to tax this property fully as expected, Mr. Mayor? Is that what you're saying?
Are we talking about the 60?
Yes.
I don't think this board has any involvement in that.
There is no pilot being
Right, but
agreed to. There's no
in terms of approvals, I believe this was planning board. In other words, it had to go to the planning board for site plan approval. I don't know what variances they needed. I think you probably do, because you've been at the meetings. And apparently they were granted those variances at the meeting. But in terms of this board, it didn't have to come before this board at any point. I don't think anything prevents anyone from seeking a pilot in the future, but it would kind of be a strange way of doing it, getting your approvals and then seeking dispensation. And to my knowledge, I've heard nothing about this project seeking that. With regard to the Sheldon, I don't think that it's accurate that they're only going to be paying $40,000 a year in taxes. I think this was before my time, but I think that they had to pay some sort of
Host community benefit.
Host community benefit fee.
Post what?
Host community benefit fee, and I think your number of 40,000, is accurate, but that does not relate to the taxes itself. Once again, don't want to put it all on Mike, but he was around during that time period. Typically, pilot agreements, payment in lieu of taxes, work on a system where over a period of 10 years, is it 10 years in this instance? 35. Okay. That the percentage of tax revenue increases every year, but I can't imagine on a complex of that size that we're only looking at $40,000 a year, even from day one, when it actually has people start to move into it.
Okay, I know the mics weren't working. I said 50, not 40, but you know what? I'll follow up with Mr. Janito, and I'll go recheck my notes, but that's certainly what I recall. But I might be wrong.
Yeah. It's definitely, they're paying a graduating tax increase over the years, along with an associated host community benefit. So it's more than the 40,000 that you stated.
And they're also paying a parking fee to use a certain number of lots.
Okay. Okay.
This is just to talk about the business and the development and the transit-oriented district and the Sheldon and these other projects that are going on. This is what the village needs. The village needs some responsible development to bring in the rateable, to bring in the people, to spur economic development. That's what we're looking to do in a responsible manner, in order for us to negotiate these contracts that you spoke of with the CSEA and with the PBA. The more people, the more revenue that we're able to generate in a responsible manner only goes to benefit the employees, the village workforce, and the village itself. That's the big picture. You have to look at the big picture. You can't just isolate little pieces of the pie. You have to look at the whole pie and see how strategically we can get this done and move the village forward. And that's what we're doing.
Okay. Is there a piece of the pie you feel like I'm not looking at, or?
The whole pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep an open mind, look at the whole pie. That's all.
And pick your flavor. Peach, cobbler, blueberry.
I want to follow up on some statements I made last month, somewhat controversial. I spoke to both Mr. and Mrs. Lejoy / Paffenroth after the meeting. It was suggested that I go ahead and on my own investigate whatever I've grown curious about, regarding hiring and of his consulting services. So I have gone ahead and submitted FOIL requests for new hires, for pay increases, and for any out-of-the-ordinary payments made from the village to its employees. So I expect to have that information in the next couple of weeks, and I pledge to share my findings on that and clarify anything that was brought up last month.
I want to speak a little bit about Stephen Lejoy and the work, and Stephen Lejoy has been volunteering to this Village of Suffern. And the extensive amount of work that he has been doing for the Village of Suffern, for the residents and for you, for the environment, for the water, for everything that goes on in this village, he's an asset to have for $1. No other money, no other funds, $1. I just want to make that clear to everybody here in the audience. He's a great asset to me, the village board, and the village residents.
Okay, thank you for saying that. I do want to stress the point on this topic. My concern is not with the employees of this village or the people that are going to volunteer their services or offer their services for, whatever amount of payment. Mr. Mayor, my concerns are with you. This is an unusual agreement where you should have disclosed your relationship, and that's how I feel. So,
It was disclosed
again,
to the board before it was
I'll go ahead and wait for the information to come, and I'll come back. But those
I want to make this clear also, is that if there's an issue with me and disclosure, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
The disclosure is that Mr. Stephen Lejoy is doing volunteer work in the Village of Suffern for $1. Mr. Lejoy is Miss Paffenroth's husband. Absolutely, and that's the names that they go by. And it's well known throughout this village that they are married. The village board knew that they were married, and that if there is nothing going on within this village board, I don't know what your point is, but it's very disheartening to the people of this board, to the employees of this village, and the volunteers that help us here.
I mean, you're not suggesting that Ms. Paffenroth purposely kept her maiden name and as a woman didn't take her husband's name as some sort of conspiracy, are you?
No.
It sounds like it. Because you say it was purposely withheld.
I didn't say it was purposely withheld. I said, I think the mayor...
How did you word it?
What? I said, I think the mayor should have disclosed the relationship to make it clear.
I think you said something a little more nefarious, but the tape will tell. And if I'm
When,
wrong,
tonight or
that'll be the
tonight or
first.
last month?
Excuse me?
Tonight or last month?
Tonight.
Are you suggesting I said something more nefarious
I
tonight or
believe
last month?
All right, let's move on.
Okay. Well, just to finish my point, I just think things like that need to be disclosed to the residents. We need to understand where there is a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest. And that is, again, I'm just clarifying the points
Okay,
I
I
made
understand your point.
Okay. So on that point, okay, I missed the June board meeting. My son had his last orchestra concert at the high school, so I chose to go to that. But I eventually caught up on the minutes and the video. Mr. Mayor, that night you authorized the hiring of a publicist for the village. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The board did.
I'm sorry?
The board did.
The board did. Correct. The board did. I apologize. The board did. Why do we need a publicist?
We don't. We reevaluated it, and he's no longer with us.
He set up our systems and that's
He
what
set up, he guided us in the direction that we wanted to go. We wanted to go with social media, we wanted to go with email, we wanted to pick his content, his expertise in that field to bring this village forward, to keep the people updated, to keep them informed, and spur more development and interest in this village.
And if I can add, there was a provision in the agreement that said that for any cause whatsoever, that the agreement could be terminated. So that was built into it, not knowing, you know, if it would work out. I think it was, how should we put this?
A 30-day trial. That's
It was
Yeah.
good. I think we got 30 days worth of content expertise.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, we got, he put us in the right direction.
Okay, so how long did we have this person in our services for us?
30 days.
30 days? So it cost us $2,000? That's what it says, $2,000 a month.
Okay.
That's what it says. Okay. All right. You know, that was puzzling because I know he's a friend. He's a friend as well. You know,
He's your friend?
No, he's your friend.
He's not my friend.
Okay.
I don't know if you know my friends, but he's not my friend.
Okay. All right.
Friendship?
Well, I just feel like, you know, we're finding a whole bunch of consultants that live within a stone's throw of you. It's just interesting.
Do you live around the corner from me?
I'm
Oh,
sorry?
no, you don't live around the corner from me. That's right.
Yes, I used to.
I thought you did, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's it.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Jim Genatino, 2 Memorial. Would you mind if I answered his questions on the Muse? Would you mind if I answer his questions on the Muse?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, that building on Washington Avenue needed 3 variances: lot coverage, side yard, and front yard. That's what they got the other night. Okay, they are paying full taxes. They're going to pay a fee in lieu of recreation. There's no free ride. So it's a plus for the village. Okay, now, what I'd like to start with is, and I know Clark forgot this, I know we had a save in the Knolls the other day. Are you aware?
Yes, I was aware of this.
Okay. 3 of our police saved a life in the Knolls a few days back.
Great, that was on a Narcan save, you're right.
Exactly
Failed to
right,
mention
and I
that.
think
Yeah, great job on that also, saving a life.
It's definitely worth mentioning. Okay, to regress a little. On these contracts, let's start with the PBA. Nothing has been settled. Nothing has been negotiated, not even the minute nuisance things in the contract?
No, we're in the middle of, we're scheduling negotiations.
And who's going to do these negotiations?
Labor Council and the
So
PBA.
you're not doing the negotiations as the mayor?
I may be involved.
And what are we paying this lawyer an hour?
I don't know offhand.
$250, $300?
Don't know.
That's probably the going rate. That could go towards the contract. I think you need the legal opinion after you work out the nuts and bolts, but was my experience. I can't talk for anybody else. As far as the CSEA, same thing. I mean, there's got to be little things that could have been worked out before we start paying some high-priced lawyer to do the nuts and bolts. He should be, you got a lawyer sitting next to you who can advise you, not on everything legal on contracts, I know that, but you can tell him what's legal and what's not legal, and he's on the payroll.
Yep.
And then he can oversee when you get to some point in the contract.
Okay.
Yes or no? I mean, I asked this question last month, and a month went by, and you didn't meet with anybody again. So it's 28 for PBA and 17 for the CSEA. I know you thank them and you tell them what a great job they're doing, but they'd really like to see their contract settled.
Anyone else from the public?
Lance, B-Boys.
Come on up. State your name and address.
Lance Bieber, 21 Terrace Avenue. How are you, Mr. Mayor? I don't come to many meetings because I'm always busy working. A lot of people know that I put in a lot of time with businesses in this town. We discussed different matters of paving issues, you know, of different places. One of them is the very block that I live on that wasn't in a budget last year to be paved, and I was just wondering how we stood maybe this year to possibly getting that road paved.
Mr. Zawicki, do we have the paving schedule?
The list of road names?
Yes.
And dates?
Terrace? Is Terrace on the schedule?
It wouldn't be Terrace, it'd be Willow. Terrace was paved already years ago. Willow was the one. Willow, right in between the end of Willow, at the very end of the block, just that little section. I thought it would actually be a nice idea, to be honest, just because I know Mr. Lejoy, and he is a terrific guy, and I agree with you for that matter. Truth is, I moved into the house across the street from his very father 16 years ago. And it's a beautiful neighborhood, and the couple that moved in across the street from me just had 2 beautiful children and starting another whole family and building this community the way it is. So I thought it'd be a cool idea if we found it in the budget this year to honor Mr. Lejoy, so that if he wanted to walk from his very home to go see his dad's home, he wouldn't break his ankle doing it. I thought that'd be cool. Since he only gets $1, let's repay him that way. That's all.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
That would be good.
Hi, it's Carol, Suffern, New York. This is in reference to Jim, and I would like to direct it to our chief. There is a long-standing court case brought and founded against the village. It eventually led to the founding of Rockland Community College. My father is the founder. There are people that work very hard to get it going. I will not go into the details, but part of the findings guaranteed our village employees, firemen, police, the services, would never again be abridged or attacked or denied their rights for their services, for their medical, for their benefits, their hospitalization, and their salary. At the time, The police were underpaid, firemen were volunteer, even our village employees, very poorly paid. Every cent they had to fight for. It has been many years, and they are still fighting. We had to put aside, and I was one of the people that worked on it. I was a very young officer. But somehow, in between, that's gotten brushed aside. Don't even know I was on. No records, I guarantee it. But I was duly sworn. We had no academy. A group of us, mostly the older ones in the fire department and that, were working very hard. They wanted a training center. And politics, being as it was, and for the most part, it hasn't changed in many places. It was denied. They fought tooth and nail. My father's case brought it to a head. They finally got working. After he finally got the operation, because he was injured on the job, it was an assault. He was going into comas. The then people on the board, with 2 exceptions, voted and conspired to just let him die, and totally lied to the public, to the rest of the people, even the other people in the village services, the truth about his medical condition.
Carol, we're concerned, the village board is concerned about our first responders, our CSEA. We have to negotiate the contract so it's fair and equitable and all. They're out of contract, most likely, usually during contract negotiations. There is a settlement agreement, there's retroactive pay given, it's fair and equitable. So that's what we're trying to achieve, and that's what will happen.
They shouldn't have to fight tooth and nail for every penny they get.
No, it's not, it just has to be fair and equitable.
Their education, well,
Nope, you're right,
that becomes
you're right. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, because this is what happened. I do not want to see it happen to the people here today. I mean, it was not pleasant. There would be no RCC if it wasn't for what happened.
Thank goodness for that. We have RCC, and we have the people that were able to build on that. So we appreciate that.
But please remember, when you negotiate with our officers, keep this in mind.
We will.
They would never be infringed again. That you would not give them a problem when they needed medical care. It would be guaranteed.
They have medical care. Everyone has medical care. Everyone has it.
They had medical care when my father was on.
Well, we're talking now.
But they did not want to recognize, so they came up with a false narrative.
All right, but we're moving forward, Carol. We're not looking behind. We learned from our mistakes, and we're moving forward. Okay?
Let's move forward and okay their CSEA.
Okay, thank you.
Michael Curley, 84 Orange Avenue. Heard Mr. Gerard talking about, I guess it's Amy's husband, which I'm glad you told me it was her husband because I was about to ask her out, so now that's settled. But more importantly, I think his intentions were good in asking these questions, Mr. Gerard. I think he had a good intention by doing it. He thought maybe there was something, or maybe he didn't, or he wanted to know about it. But I met Amy's guy she hung out with. I didn't know it was the husband, all right? And he seems like an honorable man to me, all right? And
he is.
And I think people helping out with things, okay? I think maybe something that's not known about is that in our sewer plants, we had a couple of people that resigned and moved on, and we're doing it with outside resources now. And we can use help on that. And if someone wants to volunteer, we should appreciate them doing that, and then I recommend giving $2 instead of $1. Okay?
Thank you. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Okay. Office of the Village Clerk.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Hold on, let me see, what do I have here? The motion to accept the minutes from the August 6th, 2018 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Frank?
Second, I think I did.
He made the motion.
No, Gina, Moira, no.
I can't.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, motion passes. Mr. Janito, Treasurer's update, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As to the update, basically the Finance Department, as Mr. Rella had mentioned, is working on the applications for both the grants and the financing with the EFC for the various sewer treatment plant projects or treatment system projects. There's actually 4 of those that we're going for. The other thing is we're preparing for the audit for fiscal year ending or ended May 31, 2018. The auditors should be in next week to start their field work, and we're hoping to have the audited financial statements out within 6 months following the end of May 31, 2018, so sometime around November. In terms of other things, the one item that we have on the board for, on the agenda for a resolution is that one of the audits performed as required under the law is the audit of the justice courts. And we did 2 years in a row there, fiscal year ending May 31, 2017, and fiscal year ending May 31, 2018. So those reports have been submitted to the board, to the village board, and we're just asking that they be accepted so that we can then notify the Office of Court Administration as required by law that the reports have been accepted. Incidentally, the reports found nothing unusual. In essence, they received a clean opinion, and so we're confident that they should be accepted, and we'll notify the Office of Court Administration once that's done. So we're asking that resolution be adopted.
Okay, so I have a resolution accepting Justice Court audit reports for fiscal years ended May 31st, 2017 and May 31st, 2018. I have a motion? I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Want him to speak to...
He's going to stay here. Wait, not yet. Mr. Zawicki.
Really?
It is hot.
Good evening, Mayor and the board. I'd like to provide an update on a couple of projects. The ADA ramps have been installed along Boulevard and Riverside in preparation of the road improvement project. That particular project will be starting, milling and resurfacing is scheduled to start on the week of October 8th. Actually just had some discussion with the contractor today. I am requesting authorization for the mayor to execute the 2018-2019 snow and ice agreement between the Village of Suffern and the New York State Department of Transportation in the amount of $19,148.28.
Okay, I have a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a municipal snow and ice agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation for the period 2018-2019. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
This is an annual agreement for everyone's edification. It's done every year around this time.
And it's for Route 59 and 202?
Yes.
7.5 lane miles, is that correct?
It's 7.76 lane miles.
7.76 lane miles, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization to issue a purchase order for professional services to the low bid proposal for the Phase 2 sanitary sewer abatement project to Pitangaro and Deutsch Consulting Engineers in the amount of $47,900.
So I have the resolution authorizing acceptance of the low bid for the wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 sanitary sewer abatement design, professional service request for proposal. Do I have a motion?
I have a question.
Do I have a motion? Do it on the question.
Frank?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second? Discussion?
I know it got raised up, the issue of the huge disparity between the low bidder and the other two more well-known engineering firms to us. I know the question had been asked, whether you felt comfortable that their proposal was as full service as the others, and whether or not references had been investigated, received, acceptable, not, where that was.
Okay.
So-
I
Since
did-
it's half
I mean,
the price.
It was a little bit later in the day. I sent out an email. May have not seen that, but I did check on 4 of their references, and they all came back very, very positive. And they were throughout the Hudson Valley area. You know, there was a number of municipalities. This is a young firm. We deal primarily with the principals, and the principals are essentially the participants that will be involved in this project. And as a result of them being a young company, although the principals are well established and well respected, their rates are a little bit lower. So we did sit down with them and go through.
It was more than a little bit.
Well, I mean, when I'm saying rates, I mean hourly rate. You know, an engineer's rate could be $180 an hour. It could be $250 an hour. So they are a little bit more on the low end of the scale. And we did sit down with them. We went through the RFP, and it was felt it was complete and comprehensive. They also have complied with the EFC MWB goal, and so that will not be an issue as well. We'll be able to move forward and be able to have that without any concern moving forward.
I mean, it's also built into the resolution, subject to Mr. Zawicki contacting the references provided by the bidder and issuing his approval in writing to the village attorney for review, along with his submittal of all bid documents to the village attorney.
Well, he definitely did the first part. He wrote me an email. Sorry about talking about you in the second person. Charles wrote me an email this morning that he contacted the 4 provided references, and all had very positive comments regarding the caliber of work and overall job performance of right now the low bidder. And a meeting was held with the consultant to review the RFP requirements. All the requirements were satisfied with their proposal, including EFC and MWE BE goals, which is what he has stated today. That said, what is your guess as to how there could be such a disparity between the low bid and the other 2 bidders?
Well, the other bidders, I have those here. I believe there were 79,000. All right, so we're.
I thought one was 87 and one was 91.
Okay, well, the 80.
79 and 81.
79 and
Okay, the one proposal from one of the consultants, I don't know if I should mention her name, he did have an allowance in there, an unnecessary allowance. I'm not sure what he was thinking about, but he had an allowance there for DOT permits, and that responsibility will be with the contractor, which they're preparing documents. So we go out for bids for a contractor that's solicited to do the work. So there was $9,000, oh, thank you. They had $9,000 in a an allowance for that work, which really wasn't part of the RFP or part of the requirement. Somehow he missed the boat on that one. So his was $9,000 higher, and that was the one, the higher bidder, the one for 81, that was the consultant that had that $9,000 allowance in there. So that would bring him down to 72,000. And what happens, quite honestly, when you go out for bids for engineering professional services or even a contractor, there quite often is a big difference in dollars. I feel very comfortable with this firm. The two principals are closely involved in the work. Matter of fact, they just completed a similar project that they spoke about when we met the other day. So they're well prepared to get this type of work done. And on the scale of complexity, this is not a super complex project. It's pretty straightforward. Has a surveying component to it. And it's a pretty straightforward project. It doesn't have this...
Did they come down to the site and look at it, or you don't know?
Yeah, we met them down in the water and sewer department, and they did, look at the area where the work is going to be performed, and they're using a local surveying firm. They're located right. They have a Suffern address. I don't think they're located right in this Village of Suffern. They have a Suffern address.
That's included in their bid. That's included in their bid
Yes, that's included in their bid, and that's part of
the total.
Yes, and that's all included in the RFP, how things were spelled out and what the requirements were. And I feel very comfortable with. I think it's it's a great opportunity to get something done for a little less money.
All right. So there's a
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Okay, I am requesting authorization for myself, Joe Hunt. Now, Joe wasn't on the, I don't think he made it on the agenda.
He's on here.
Okay, all right. Joe Hunt, Chris Scolani, and Todd Strasburg of the DPW, as well as Steve Conley of the Building Department, to attend the New York State DEC 4-hour erosion and sediment control training on September 25th, 2018 at the Fire Training Center in Pomona. The training cost is $65. As a result of the Village of Suffern being a member of the Stormwater Consortium, the cost is $65. If non-members, it's $125. So for the village, it'll be $65 per person.
Okay, I have a resolution authorizing Charles Sawicki, Joe Hunt, Chris Scolani, Todd Strasburg, Steve Conley to attend New York State DEC erosion and sediment control training on September 25th, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved, the Village of Suffern Board of Trustees hereby authorizes Charles Sawicki, Joe Hunt, Chris Scolani, Todd Strasburg, and Steve Conley to attend the New York State DEC 4-hour erosion and sediment control training on September 25th, 2018 at the Fire Training Center in Pomona, and the cost is $65 per participant. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
Okay. I am requesting authorization to extend seasonal employee Thomas Martin from 90 days to 120 days of employment.
So I have the resolution extending Thomas Martin as a seasonal laborer from 90 days to 120-day duration, current rate of pay of $15 per hour. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Is
Yes.
this funded, this position?
Mr. Janito, are you aware of the funding line for this temporary position?
I believe the funding in the line is for a vacant full-time person.
Yes.
And so there should be sufficient funds. I will check to make sure the period of time as long as that person has not been hired.
Well, if I can refresh the board, we had hired 2 seasonal employees. One subsequently resigned.
Correct.
So this would be just extending.
So we were able to fund the 2, the 1 resigned, so we still have the additional funding. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees. Gina.
I'm going. Okay. Did you want me to do an update on the parking?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I met with Teresa from the parking department, trying to go over the parking for Lot A and D. We just want people to have a better experience when they come here to park. So there's not enough, or the way the signage is in our parking lots, Lot A, Lot D. So we're trying to get better signage up and for people to know how they get a parking permit, whether it's for a day or for a month pass or whatever it is. Just so they have a better experience and not end up getting tickets because we're getting complaints for that. So, and we've been promoting our area, especially for hikers to come in and they don't know where to park. So we're just gonna try and get some better signage for them so that they have a better experience, and also try and maybe include some kind of map that could bring them into the village for our businesses, so to make them aware. Because I feel like some of them come in through the D lot to go hiking and they never go beyond that. And if you're not from around here, you don't even know there's a village past that. So if they wanted to get something to eat or, you know, a convenience store or anything, they have no idea. So I think we need some more signage, some type of map that would show them what's available in the village and how to get permits. Working on something that'll be online available also.
And also adding it to the trail conference website material.
Oh, also adding it to the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference website.
So this spurred from hikers coming into the village and not knowing where to park. So that's when Gina undertook this exploratory challenge, or whatever you want to call it, to see where we can have these out-of-towners park without receiving tickets, as she stated. So it's a great idea, along with the map, to guide them back into the village for them and to promote our business in the village. Great idea.
I also have the Do Not Knock program. We have a new registration form available on the village website. So you can register, you just go right on the site, suffern.newyork.gov. And if you want to participate in the program, you just have to fill out the form and you'll be contacted. Also the See Something, Say Something, the code initiative. You can report property maintenance concerns. You can do it online. You can put in a form. It's all confidential. And it will be sent to the building department and property maintenance. What else?
That's good.
It's good.
Good, thank you. Mr. Hagen.
Okay, as Recreation mentioned, Saturday is the 3rd annual dog show for Suffern Lions. Represents it. The village allows us to do it. And Recreation helps us. Police department helps us. The board helps us. If you want to go to a dog show Saturday, it's a lot of fun. It's 3 hours, and it's totally voluntary. There's no expenditures to the village for this show. The Lions Club picks up the expense of whatever they do. It's a lot of fun. Come out. Saturday, September 8th, from 11 to 3. It's across from the ice skating ring. It's on Sylvan Way, Yorkshire Park. The other thing I was going to mention, but Mr. Gerard beat us to the punch, was on the state and local taxes. We keep reviewing and getting updates on it. And as you said, it's right there in writing, the IRS refuses to allow us to implement these programs. Mayor, you have anything?
Actually, the IRS will be holding a public hearing on November 5th in Washington. There's information, I believe there's handouts up on the stage if you would like to review it. It's kind of interesting. So take a look at it. But November 5th, we won't have a definitive answer until after November 5th. Okay. Tomorrow there'll be a Rockland County Shared Service Initiative public hearing here in the Village of Suffern to discuss the possibilities for saving tax dollars and streamlining government by combining the efforts of municipalities to reduce duplication of services that will benefit our residents and businesses. So that's tomorrow here at 7 p.m. and that'll be hosted by Rockland County. There's one last item, I believe. I was approached by numerous veterans organizations, the VVA, that's the Vietnam Veterans Association, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and the American Legion, in reference to the monument, the Soldiers Monument here in the village, across from the church, and the flagpole and the yard arm. They believe that the monument is in, the monument flag should only be, the American flag and the POW flag should only be flown at the monument, since it's a memorial to our servicemen and women. And we're considering removing the yard arm and taking that yard arm down to Point Park and putting that yard arm on the Point Park flagpole and flying our additional flags there. That's for our consideration. Anybody else have anything else?
No, but Mr. Mayor, the Shared Services Initiative.
Yes.
Tomorrow evening. Was that 7:30 start?
7.
7.
Yes.
Yeah, 7.
All good? Okay. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay, at this time, I'd like to close the meeting in honor of a very special person here in the Village of Suffern, a veteran, a friend, and a member of the community, longtime member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and was very influential here with the military service organizations, Mr. Dave Clifford. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. May you rest in peace. Thank you all.